Recording in progress.
Excellent. So today we're going to learn how to do an addendum or addenda. Addenda is one, addendum is multiple. That's what I typically understand. But I always Google it because it's a word I'm not used to. Typically, one apple, 10 apples. You just add a S and it's easy. But this one, addendum, is is one, I believe, right? An addendum is a document, and then the plural um, is so the plurals of addendum is addenda. All right, so you got three addenda. It's weird because you do not say three addendums. You say three addenda, and you say one addendum, and that's what we're gonna do. Projects are not perfect. Design is not meant to be perfect. Changes are to happen. Things are to change. Yesterday truth is today's nothingness. Things just change every single day. So because of that, there's a way of when you go out to bid of being able to addendum to create an addendum or a change or an amendment to the documentation. And we're gonna go through what that process is like. I'm gonna make it very simple and easy. Okay, so when are these happening? These happen after you've already gone out to bid, bid, meaning it's gone out to the general public, it's already being advertised, it's already been shared. You cannot make changes without notifying all of the potential bidders. For the housing authorities, we use something called big docs, which you should be familiar with now that you're here. You've made it here. It means you've already done schematic design, design development, construction documents. You've already submitted those documents. You've already done over and over different drafts and edits and this and that. And you are familiar with this platform, but you've never gotten to this point. So welcome. You now are in the bidding phase. So changes happen similar to the replacement of anything else before, but this one's get notified. So this is a little bit different. Okay, so we start with going to Big Docs. We're inside Big Docs. We go inside My Projects. And within Big Docs, you're gonna notice something different. For the first time, if this is your first time doing this, for the first time ever, you're gonna notice something different. And it is that before these things were blue. Now some of them are green. Green is the bidding phase. All of those projects in green are in the bidding phase. They've already gone out to bid. This showcases the estimated amount of each one of those. That's why cost estimates are really critical because we need to share them. We need to have them. So these projects have already gone out to bid and you are able to make addendums. These projects that are not out to bid, you just replace them and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because nobody's been notified just yet. Ideally, you make most of your changes and not all of your changes before you go out to bid, but things changed. For instance, on this particular project that we're going to talk about, we got all of the specifications from our asbestos consultant yesterday, but we went out to bid on Wednesday early in the morning. So we went out to bid at 10 a.m. and this was sent to us like at 4 p.m. Too late, too bad. Now that said, you are able to make an amendment. You are able to add an addendum. So the way to do it is as follows. So you're gonna now locate your project. So now we're clear. This green means that we're in the bidding phase. We're clear on that. So you're gonna locate your project within this group, and in this particular case, it's the Haverhill Housing Authority. We go in, and you are able to see things a little bit differently. Now the project is kind of locked. It's locked in. These are the details of the project. Again, it's kind of locked in. There's very little you can change right now because it's all locked in. You shouldn't have to change any of these things. You're good. Okay. So you're gonna go to your tab called Addenda, and that's where you're gonna make the change. There are going to be changes that are going to be triggered by RFI, meaning a contractor tells us, "Hey, window number 2555 needs to be a tempered glass to my knowledge." You're going to see that, you select them, and then they're going to be included as an addendum when you replace them. However, we do not have an RFI just yet. This is a change that we know needs to happen and we're going to make, and it was not triggered or initiated by a contractor's question. Okay? Now, changes come from everywhere. It could be the housing authority. It could be the Housing and Livable Communities department in Boston. It could be you, yourself. It could be your cost estimator. It could be your spec writer. It could be anybody, right? It can be born out of different things. When it is born out of the internal design team is one thing. When it's born out of contractors' question is another thing. So internal team is everybody that's working with you from the beginning and the end of the design process. So in this case, this is being initiated technically by our asbestos consultant. So it will not be an RFI. But if it is initiated by anybody outside of the design team or the entities, owner, architect, groups, then it's typically by RFI. So we're going to do an addenda. You're going to addenda right now. And inside addenda, you're going to click create. That's going to trigger a change. And it's going to trigger, similar to when you go out to bid, an opportunity to edit, confirm, and ensure that things are kind of like everything, a checklist, like another opportunity to check everything. So the first question that I ask is like, you know, and it's this little triangle. It's like, okay, when is this addendum going to be issued? The dates are important. I've always exercised that very clearly when we're training our staff members. Your drawings have to have the current date, always have the correct date, because there's multiple versions of drawings. And what I have realized is that contractors, owners, and some people always refer to an older reference and waste a lot of time and create a lot of frustration by the sheer fact that they're not looking at the dated, the most up-to-date change. So that's it. These could be actually put into the future. So you know what, you have Friday, you're like, I'm not gonna do this, I'm gonna just issue it to come out on Monday. You could select the date and it will be issued to come out on that particular date. On this case, I'm not doing that because time is of the essence for this project. And by the way, when you hear the word time is of the essence, that's a technical legal term. That time, it's literally of the essence. It's not like if I feel like it or if I want to. It means that it will create a ripple effect on other things, a chain of effects on other things if you do not do it at the particular time where you need to do it. One quick example. When you're cooking, you often put your pasta inside the water after it's been boiling. Time is of the essence. If you do it after the water has already evaporated, the pasta is not gonna really cook properly. So it's of the essence. It means it has repercussions if you do not do it in the particular time, order, and moment. Random example to make the case for the importance of this. So on that tab, you're gonna have options to certain things. What's the number of the addendum? This does it automatically on big docs. But if you weren't doing it on big docs and you weren't doing it through the housing authorities, you should, on your drawings, create an addendum number within the clouds and within the revisions. So that will be the number. This is the date. In the same way that in our Revit drawings, we do a date as the same date that these changes will happen. You could do an addendum where you say this project has been canceled. But you have to legally let them know because they're trying to bid on this project. It would be a disaster for them if they're spending quality time and money to put a bid together for a project that was never to happen. That would be very, very frustrating. And you can, and may actually, have some legal repercussions to it. So you do not want to do that. But in this case, we're not doing that. So no, we are changing the date. The addendum number is already done. Other questions are, is the general bid date changing? That's important because we have to follow certain procedures. You have to give certain amount of time to bidders to bid. And you may not and cannot do a change within a day of the bid and not extend the bidding date. You cannot, if the bid is due today at 3 p.m. and it's 1:45 as it is right now, you, as soon as you make that addendum that you're going to share, need to push the deadline, and I would say by at least 2 more days. At least 2 more days. It's to give them proper time. Now, the law requires a little bit more or a little bit less. I don't know the exact law right now by heart, but because I know the law is a little bit less than 2 days, I just use 2 days or 3 days as a good number, knowing that I will not be in violation of any statutes by doing this. So we're not changing the bid date, so that's fine. We're also not changing the pre-bid conference, and we're also not changing the cost estimate. But you see, we have the opportunity of changing cost estimate. I bring attention to this because we've had some cases where we've been going out to bid and the cost estimate hasn't been ready, it's not ready, and it's not accurate, and we're like, waiting for that number so that we can go forward. You may go forward and then edit it. It's not good practice to do so. It is always better to have it correct at the get-go when you're going to go out to bid. But again, there's a lot of moving pieces. This is not easy. This is hard work, and it requires attention. So often changes do happen that are not of our own making. That said, none of these other items are changing other than the date and the fact that we're making an addendum. So I'm going to save that and put today's date. Great. After you do that, it saves. It shows you that it's saved on the lower left. It says bid addenda number 1 saved. You can now go back, and it brings you back to the checklist. Out of the checklist, you're going to focus on what you are changing. Remember when I talked about RFIs? This is where you would incorporate RFI changes and questions as part of our addendum. In this case, we do not have any RFIs requests or any changes requests, so we do not need to touch that. And we will have another version of this video in which we're going to make an addendum or addenda, depending on the case, based on changes triggered by the contractor. And I know as a fact that we will have an addendum. We've always had an addendum. It's always the case. There's always something that isn't clear or better or perfect or organized or something that isn't, So we're going to do that on the second video. It's not going to be today, but it's going to be another video, so watch for that. If this is your first addendum ever, watch this one. If you have an RFI and you do not know how to answer that by addenda, you should watch the second video. All right, so that said, here we go. What we're going to do is actually go ahead and change some specifications. Remember I mentioned that we got new specifications from our asbestos consultant. So it says, any changes being made to sections? Yes, absolutely, as a matter of fact. So we're going to be replacing some sections with new sections. So you click on replace, and you're going to go to the section that you're trying to replace. In this particular case, I believe it's got to do with a division that deals with asbestos. And that division is 02 and also this division 01. Now, division 01 is not here as an option often, so you do not have the option to change it. It's because those divisions are typically locked by big dogs and by the smart guys, but you may be able to add them as an appendix. And that's likely what we're going to be doing. You see, we have, we call this 50, environmental procedures. That's one of the ones we're going to change, environmental procedures. We're going to be changing that. And then 022820 is going to be the remediation, which we're going to replace. That's it. We can click on the 50. We can drop it like it's hot inside here. And it's saying, well, wait a minute. The number that you put in here is not the number that we have. What should we do? Well, technically, we should match the number of that. So 50, 00, 30, and then it's going to be 00. I think it's going to be here. So we're going to do 0, 1, 3, 5, 4, 3. We're going to replace that. And how do you replace it? By the way, I've always struggled with the word environmental. So environmental. So I always read it a couple times. So then you go here and you say yes, replace. Okay, replace. And that's the one we're gonna replace. And this is the revised one. So that's great. We often don't have to put the word revised, but in this case we are. So I'm saving this now. What's the next one we're gonna do? Well, we're gonna go in here and we're gonna change our 02. So you go to division 02, which is existing conditions, asbestos remediation. We're gonna wrap the one that we have and drop it like it's hot. And it's got, well, wait a minute, the name doesn't match the one that we have. It's okay, because we want to clarify and ensure that they know this is a revised version. I put the 00 because typically after the dot we gotta just complete it. So we say yes, save. Now you see this arrow. This arrow says that something has been shifted and changed. Okay, it's been changed. And it will notify bidders, not yet, but it will notify bidders that something changed. So you're gonna save that and you're gonna go back. And now you can go ahead and confirm all of your items. Okay, 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 okay. Now, one thing you're gonna notice, and this is important that you do this, you're gonna notice that this section changed and it's got changes on it. I have tried to issue an addenda and not select the changes that I was trying to make. And I'm like, I'm changing nothing for nothing, and then therefore the addenda doesn't get issued. So make sure that you ensure that on the edit you've already selected them. And it says 2 sections are being replaced. Great, that's beautiful. They are indeed being replaced, and that's great. And then you can do immediately a post addenda. It's gonna ask you to preview it. Always a requirement. I love this software, by the way. This software is awesome. But check what it does. And I didn't know this when I first did my first house doctor project ever. So cute. I made a sheet like this with flow design templates. And it said like, hey, we're changing this section and we're changing that. That was so not needed because the software does it by itself. It tells you what changed and it highlights it for them so that they know what changed. If you're anything like me, and I know Nicole Villa from Flow Design is a lot like me in many ways, she would have done a flow version of the change with a nice, beautiful document saying, replace element, displace this, displace that. Because we're kind of resourceful individuals, and we know we need to notify it and track it. So that's pretty good. Kudos to us, selfless, shameless plug right there. So, but the changes are going to be flagged, and they're going to be able to know what changed on the review process. Okay, so now the only thing that changed is that. So that's it. Addendum number 1 replaces asbestos remediation and environmental procedures. That's it. With what? With what I've told them that it changes it with. So the rest of the documents remain unchanged. Great, you're all set. He asked for the email confirmation, which in this case will be my email. And you click post. And you are all done, my friend. You've posted in green an addenda. It takes a couple of minutes with this little like ticking thing. You see it like I guess blinking. It's because it's being sent. It doesn't happen right away. It takes a couple of minutes to do so. But if you go to your email and you're the administrator, you're gonna get an email saying, Haverhill Housing Authority has posted an addendum. Addendum number 1. After addendum number 1, we'll get addenda number 2, right? So that's great. So you're gonna learn a little bit of English on that one. So that's it. That's that change. Not much more to think about. Not much more to be concerned about. Pretty straightforward. You've done this. You successfully did your first addenda. Again, this is very rewarding kind of work to my knowledge. Like I believe this is very like important that we learn how to do these. In fact, whoever can successfully do these things, flow, it's certainly gonna be on my good grace, on my good place, because it's something I'm doing almost full time right now, and I want help. So thank you so much for watching this. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Communicate with me. Nicole and Julio are pretty well trained on this, so you can ask them if I'm not available on any of these elements, and they will be able to help you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.